What's the biggest problem about the 2026 World Cup?
That it's being hosted in America, being in the United States.
That it's in America.
Oh, because it's in America.
That we gave Donald Trump a peace medal, and for what exactly is my question?
I don't particularly agree with all the sort of persecution of these illegal immigrants.
Football is a global sport, so having countries that are restricting access when people just want to come and watch their countries play is disappointing.
Would you feel safe going over there?
No, I'm not interested in traveling to the States in general, being a black person. You know what I mean?
Like, even if I'm white, I still wouldn't want to go. Just with all the immigration issues, I don't think it's safe for anyone to go.
Who's trying to get deported just to go and celebrate your team?
Would you feel guilty at all watching the World Cup this year?
Guilty? No.
I support Saka, innit? So I have to watch him.
I think so, because I also boycotted the Qatar World Cup.
If we were to watch any of the matches, it would be the ones that are in Canada or Mexico, I feel.
I'm still gonna, like, if it's on the TV, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna protest by closing my eyes and be like, oh no, I don't want to see this. I don't think guilt is the word, even though I do not support what's happening in America. The World Cup I think it transcends that. Fans, supporters, coaches and sportsmen, if they stand for what's right, they can use that platform to continue to express that. We only have voices. We don't have the money or the power. Cheers.
Donald Trump is facing the FIFA World Cup disaster he feared the most. The World Cup is just a few weeks away, and each crisis is growing and growing, and each crisis seems to be worse than the next. Donald Trump appointed Rudy Giuliani's kid, Andrew Giuliani, to lead the World Cup in the United States. I'm sure that's going to work out well, and each headline from the past week or so is worse than the next. Whether it is the foreign boycott of FIFA, which could cost the United States upwards of $30 billion that FIFA promised. FIFA said that all of these cities that host these World Cup games were going to get rich. We're going to get so rich. In fact, the cities are seeing economic loss right now, and they are also launching investigations into FIFA's dynamic pricing, the so-called dynamic pricing that has resulted in fans being unable to afford the games. And it seems that there's massive price manipulation taking place, whether it is ICE having a presence across the United States at FIFA matches, and Mark Wayne Mullen, Donald Trump's new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, bragging that ICE is going to be there. We're going to be looking into the behavior of foreign nationals coming into our country. We see people here in the United States boycotting ICE, and one of the reasons why we see so many people internationally boycotting FIFA, at least in the United States, is because of this ICE presence.
The biggest sporting event on the planet is coming to America, and it's already falling apart. We're less than 3 weeks from the first World Cup match on U.S. soil, and hotels and host cities are not filling up, not even close. Nearly 80% of hotels surveyed across 11 host cities say bookings are tracking below their original forecasts. Some hotel owners are calling it a non-event, not a boom, a non-event for the World Cup in America. Let that sink in. FIFA promised this would be an economic juggernaut. City leaders kept saying record numbers were coming, but when journalists actually walked into hotels and asked, the answer was the same everywhere. Occupancy rates lower than expected. Not even hitting rodeo level numbers in Houston. And the reason is not complicated. International visitors are watching what's happening here. They're seeing aggressive immigration enforcement near host cities. They're seeing travel warnings issued by civil rights organizations telling people they could face detention, device searches, racial profiling just for showing up. They're seeing an administration that floated the idea of halting international flights into major host cities, which happen to be World Cup venues. That's not a travel climate that says welcome. That's a travel climate that says stay home. And then you have the ticket crisis layered on top, official seats going for over $11,000, resale hitting $2 million. New York and New Jersey had to subpoena FIFA just weeks before kickoff because fans were waiting 12 hours in online queues only to get completely different seats than what they paid for. Government intervention weeks before the tournament. That's where we are. Meanwhile, New York City's mayor stepped in and secured 1,000 tickets at $50 each with free bus transportation included because somebody had to make this accessible to actual people. Not a photo op, not a slogan, real action, and the contrast is impossible to ignore. A tournament designed to project openness, confidence, and competence is instead projecting fear, confusion, and dysfunction. The whole world is watching. And what they're seeing is a host nation that couldn't get out of its own way.
The World Cup is starting in 33 days, but do you think that America is ready for the World Cup? Let us listen to what he's saying.
The World Cup starts in 33 days. The U.S. will not be prepared. They're not acting like a country that's ready to host the largest international event in the history of the world. International travel demand is at an all-time low for a World Cup. It's not only weaker than it's expected, it is almost half of what is expected. Hotels in World Cup cities are saying foreign bookings are so soft they are releasing dozens of rooms that were blocked off for World Cup fans. Fans are looking at the U.S. and seeing visa delays, phone searches, social media vetting, travel bans, political hostility, and the very real fear that they could spend thousands of dollars to come to watch a soccer game and get treated like a suspect at the border. And now the Secretary of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullins, is telling Congress and the world today that the World Cup preparations by the department in the federal government that's supposed to protect the homeland is not up to par. That they're not ready for the matches, that they're not ready for the hundreds of thousands of additional tourists and fans every single day. TSA says it's 4 to 6 months away from training new officers, and that's if they can get fully staffed today. The tournament starts in 33 days. Cyber and Infrastructure Security says that, well, their outreach has been limited because they were restricted by what they could do during the funding lapse. Customs Border Protection says they were unable to buy new equipment, vehicles, aircraft, surveillance systems, and intelligence tools, and the ones they have are now in maintenance or are otherwise negatively affected. DHS officials have said that coordination with state and local partners were hindered to the point that all of their planning efforts were reduced. And they still haven't paid out $625 million in security grants to the local municipalities. So let's be clear about this. The Trump administration wants the photo op of America hosting the World Cup. That's why they pursued it during his first administration. But his administration has made America look more hostile to visitors, chaotic at the border, unstable in Congress, and underprepared inside the very department responsible for keeping this event safe. You cannot sell the World Cup as a welcome mat while governing like every foreign visitor is a threat. And now everyone in the administration seems shocked that the world is not rushing to come here. So if you're planning on coming here for the World Cup, don't. It's not safe. Go to Canada. Go to Mexico. Go anywhere but the United States.
We have a question. Does World Cup belongs to the US? Because everyone is furious. Everyone fears to go to the US to watch the World Cup. Hotel bookings, it's disappointing. People fear to go to watch their football in the US, so that it is affecting the American tourism industry, and they are losing a lot of money. And fans are disappointed. They prefer going to Canada and Mexico than US. Everyone is like, they don't want to watch their football. Yet it's a few days to the World Cup. I think we are remaining with 30 days there. But everyone doesn't want to go to the US and to watch the World Cup. They fear ICE. They fear the insane Trump policy. I don't know what we are going to do. Let us watch these videos.
Not sure if you guys heard, but the World Cup cancellations are through the roof. People do not want to come to our country. They don't want to experience a dictator. And it's not just Trump. It's actually the supporters, the people that feel entitled to be bullies and identify with a bully. They are finally realizing that a percentage of the United States who feel entitled now and emboldened to be racist, transphobic, homophobic, and disgusting, they don't want to be around America. They're finally realizing. And it's not all Americans. It's probably only about 21 million out of like 350 million. But it's enough to convince people not to come here. If you're spending $1,000 a night on a hotel, you want to have a nice time. You do not want to go to a country that is closer to communism than anything else. It's disgusting. I mean, here's a man, the Orange Dumpy Pants, who gives them permission to be racist, transphobic, homophobic, attack the Capitol building, unalive police officers, and then he pays them for it. He gives them money. He puts together a fund. As long as they lick it and they have that orange stain around their mouths, you're good as gold. I'm going to give you a little more money so that you get Cheeto all around your lips and inside your tongue. It's disgusting. Anyway, man, God bless America.
What can fans expect of the World Cup in the U.S.?
I think it's going to be fantastic. We've set every record you can set.
Because it turns out him and his FIFA cohort are setting records that no one should be proud of, and I have all the humiliating details for you next. Let's jump right in with reports from France, Australia, and the United States that outline the football mess that is unfolding, and then I'll have Trump hitting pause on his victory lap.
It's the planet's biggest sporting event with a price tag to match. As North America gears up to host the 2026 World Cup, organizer FIFA is under fire for stratospheric ticket prices. President Gianni Infantino citing the U.S. resale market as he sought to defend FIFA.
We have to apply market rates. If you were to sell tickets at the price which is too low, these tickets would be resold at a much higher price.
World Cup revenues first surpassed those of the Olympics with 2010's South African edition, but this year's move to the U.S. has taken it to another level entirely. While the 2024 Paris Summer Games brought in around $5.25 billion, FIFA expects revenues for the 2026 World Cup to hit $13 billion, with $9 billion of that getting raked in this year. Roughly a third of that will be via tickets that are priced much higher than 4 years ago.
Today, we were looking on FIFA's official resale platform for people who have World Cup tickets and want to resell those tickets. And what we found was one ticket which was for sale for $11.5 million. One ticket. $11.5 million, that is £8.5 million.
That's a joke, though, isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, it's not even a very good ticket. Because I've been to the MetLife Stadium. It's one of the worst tickets in the stadium. It's behind the goal, in the corner, right up in the gods. Now, why is it available for $11.5 million? Well, I think it's somebody trying to get as much as possible for a ticket that they've bought. Now, look, let's be honest. No one's going to pay that. It could just be somebody...
No one's going to press that, no?
No one's going to press it. It could just be somebody who's doing it for a laugh or somebody who's doing it to create a headline. But what they are doing is shining a light, again, on a very, very serious issue.
With the whole World Cup thing, it really seems like the Trump administration just pulled out the Glock, pointed at their own feet, and unloaded. And the rest of us are just kind of watching. This is going to be a disaster. It really feels like they're literally just sitting around being like, okay, guys, how do we make this the worst World Cup ever? How do we ruin America's soft power for the rest of time? And you know what? If that's what they're saying to themselves, they're doing a pretty good job. Tourism to the U.S. has been down ever since Trump got back into office, but people were like, that's okay because the World Cup is going to help stave off the worst of the damage. And yet we're at the point where people are supposed to be booking their hotel rooms and their tickets for the World Cup, and it's still way down. And it's not hard to see why. Prices are up everywhere. Flight prices in particular are up. I paid $500 for a 2-hour domestic flight. It is getting critical out here. And the intimidation from ICE is very, very real. And the administration is literally plotting on how to make it worse. They were like, let's see if we can stop international travel to sanctuary cities. Are you insane? Just casually musing about stopping international travel to the biggest cities in the country a couple weeks before the World Cup starts for nothing, for no reason. It's like they're intentionally plotting on how to ruin the World Cup, which makes no sense because countries, even fascist ones, love hosting these sporting ceremonies. Bro, if this is what they're doing right now, I literally shudder to think about what will happen at the 2028 LA Olympics. I literally don't think it's gonna happen.
What these guys are saying about why people doesn't want to go to the US to watch the World Cup. Tell me what you think down in the comment. Just watch this.
Okay, just watch this. The most shocking reality hitting just weeks before kickoff. U.S. hotel bookings for the 2026 FIFA World Cup are dramatically falling short of expectations with occupancy rates lower than even rodeo levels and nearly 80% of hotels in host cities calling it closer to a non-event than the promised economic boom. Despite all the hype and billions spent on infrastructure, the tournament is underperforming badly, and the LA Times is finally brave enough to say, what's obvious, Donald Trump is a major reason why. His aggressive immigration policies, ICE threats near venues, travel uncertainty, and overall unwelcoming brand have created fear, warnings, and hesitation among international visitors. FIFA's sky-high dynamic ticket prices and resale scandals have only made it worse, prompting investigations in New York and New Jersey. Meanwhile, while Trump treats this as a photo op, local leader Zohran Mamdani is actually securing 1,000 affordable $50 tickets for New Yorkers with free buses and watch parties. The World Cup was supposed to showcase American success, but under Trump, it's projecting anxiety, high costs, and exclusion instead.
Trump is absolutely screwing the World Cup and FIFA. He just announced that he plans to stop international flights to Democrat cities. And Homeland Security tool Mark Wayne Mullen is going to head it all up. This is like Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, San Francisco, Seattle. I mean, he is going to screw everybody over. We already are having trouble getting people to come to this country for the games. I mean, nobody wants to sit at a game while an ICE agent points a weapon at your head. Hotels all over this country are reporting that FIFA had reserved all these rooms and now they canceled them. This was supposed to be an economic boom for this country. And Trump is just screwing over the World Cup and FIFA, which I really don't care because they were stupid enough to hand him a fake peace prize, which is probably no better than a bologna sandwich at this point. I mean, I don't know how anyone in their right mind would fly from Europe to this country right now to see these games. I mean, I don't even want to be here. He doesn't think about anything. So I'm wondering if FIFA is trying to get in touch with Trump right now, because this is really, once again, another attack on this World Cup, which in my opinion will be a complete disaster. I'll be watching from home or my local bar.
Is the U.S. visa ban on African countries going to affect the 2026 FIFA World Cup? Trump has expanded the ban to include more African countries. Here's what it actually means and who it affects. This proclamation, issued by the President of the United States in Section 5, introduced a partial suspension of entry affecting 16 new countries, 12 of them being African countries. In this suspension of entry, immigrants' visas are blocked, while non-immigrants' visas such as the B1 and B2 for tourism and business and FM and J for students and exchange visitors are also suspended. Other visas may still be issued, but with shorter validity. This means people from those countries cannot enter the U.S. on new immigrant or non-immigrant visas, while those who already hold valid residency or approved status are exempt. Section 6 provides waivers and exceptions for these groups. Lawful immigrants who are permanent residents, green card holders, and are visiting maybe African countries for the holidays and want to come back are exempt from this restriction. Now, how about the FIFA World Cup? Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire are qualifiers. Section 6 states that any athlete, coach, or member traveling for the World Cup, Olympics, or other sporting events is automatically an exception. As much as the restrictions don't affect the teams themselves, how about the fans and supporters who will need to enter the US on tourist visas? Are we saying that there won't be people from these countries to cheer on and support? You know, we all love to see that. Can there be a provision for them? What do you think about this visa ban? Let's know in the comments.
But you might be wondering, why would FIFA, of all organizations, feel the need to step in and create a whole other peace prize in order to appease our toddler of a president? Well, Trump has been in cahoots with FIFA for a while, specifically with its president, Gianni Infantino. Trump was on stage with the winners of last year's World Cup for reasons that no one really understood. He was even gifted a World Cup trophy by Infantino for having done absolutely nothing himself. But here's more from the New York Times.
In May, during Trump's Persian Gulf trip, he did encourage the leaders of businesses and major donors and allies to join him in the Middle East. Gianni Infantino was by his side, and they met together with the Emir of Qatar as they transitioned the World Cup from one host site to another. In October, President Trump was taking a major victory lap in Egypt where they were celebrating a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. Gianni Infantino was the only non-head of state at this peace summit, as unusual as that is. Since he started his second term, President Trump has been openly campaigning for a Nobel Peace Prize. When the Nobel Committee did not award it to Donald Trump, FIFA took the highly unusual step of announcing that they would award a peace prize this year. FIFA has never before awarded a peace prize. It's clear it's to ingratiate the league further to President Trump. This is how Donald Trump operates. And world leaders, whether you're the head of a country or a business, have all gotten the message that if you want to stay on President Trump's good side, you have to flatter, you have to appease. And there's no greater example of that playbook than Infantino.
The World Cup will be hosted in 16 cities across the US, Mexico, and Canada, including Houston, where I am. But while 11 US cities prepare for what was once promised to be a boom in tourism, the numbers are not looking good, with international travelers less than willing or eager to visit our country these days. FIFA has been canceling thousands of reserved hotel rooms in the host cities. They're just not filling up the way they thought they would. This means that the cities aren't likely to earn as much money from hosting as they were hoping to, which means that small businesses aren't likely to profit much either. And what's funny is that last year there was a slump in US tourism brought on by the Trump administration, but motivated specifically by Trump's tariffs against practically every country on the planet and the unrest in American cities due to the presence of ICE agents.
Well, the World Cup's becoming a nightmare. Not only do the spectators not want to come to this country, but now the teams and the players don't want to come either. The world has watched as CBP and ICE have murdered 2 people on our streets, and now countries like Germany are meeting to discuss pulling their team out. The Netherlands has a petition going around to boycott the World Cup in the United States, and the UK PMs are also calling for the United Kingdom to boycott the World Cup just to embarrass Trump. And the travel bans are now affecting teams that actually qualify for the World Cup. Fans from Haiti, Iran, Senegal, and the Ivory Coast are being blocked from coming to this country to watch their country compete. Personally, we have many friends over in the UK and in Europe who will not come to this country. Friends that usually come to this country several times a year. They will no longer come here, especially with their children, because they can see it's not safe. And they watch the videos without the spin from the White House feeding it to their cult members. They saw how they murdered 2 people on our streets and then completely lied about it. And they're not happy because ICE just takes people off the street and asks questions later. They don't differentiate whether you are a tourist or here as an immigrant. My advice? Shut it down.
Yeah, we got some snow. I thought I'd show you guys. Trump is ruining not just the war, the country, the economy, this, that, and the other. Also, the World Cup. Okay, this is supposed to bring in like 650, 700,000 people. This is soccer. They do it once every 4 years. Really big deal. The hotels, if you can see this article here, aren't even noticing any, like 0% increase in bookings because nobody wants to come here because of all the immigration enforcement, all the demonizing of people who visit from other countries, all the white nationalists posting on Twitter and social media that, America's for Americans, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can have that then. That's fine. That's fine. It is a scientific fact that immigrants are incredibly, not only are they helpful for a country, they're actually essential demographically and economically for a country to keep growing. And on top of that, like tourism is a big part of our economy and why people want to come here. It is a way, it's actually even more than that. It's a diplomatic sales pitch. It lets the world know that, we're supposed to be the beacon of freedom and how we live life here. Everything about this is so completely screwed up. And the fact that he made the World Cup have 0 increase in hotel bookings, this is going to be a historic flop. It's going to be a disaster. Just imagine those World Cup games are not going to have anybody in the stands. I mean, a few red hat Trump pansy or whatever they call them, mouth breathers. They don't even watch soccer though. Good job, Trump.
What could
possibly go wrong with shutting down international air travel and cargo shipments to blue states? I don't know. Mark Wayne Mullen and the Trump administration think that it might be a good idea to do that at these airports, some of the largest international hubs in the United States of America, because they are in sanctuary states and sanctuary cities that just aren't cooperating enough. And this wouldn't just impact international arrivals ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Oh no, it would also impact cargo shipments as well. Actual goods being shipped and flown into this country that would arrive, at one of the major airports like Chicago or New York or Boston or San Francisco. Not that that's important, but even Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Real World himself, Sean Duffy, goes, this is a terrible idea, because he was asked about that in front of one of the congressional committees. They're always testifying about something. And he's like, I haven't seen the plan, but it doesn't sound like a good idea to do that, because one day the shoe is going to be on the other foot. Republicans are no longer going to be in power, and shutting down air travel to blue states is not the right thing to do, because you know what? What will they do to us when it's their turn? And you know what? Sean is not wrong. He isn't, because you know what? We're not going to play fair. But I do have a question. If I can leave Boston and go to Scotland, but I can't return, is there a way for me to apply for, asylum while I'm in Scotland? Just a question.
People of Foxborough are pissed. Not because of the Patriots, well, I'm assuming that they are, but because no one has given them insurance about who will pay for the security for the World Cup, which is supposed to be hosted in Gillette Stadium in Boston. It's supposed to cost $8 million, and FIFA has not given them any clarity as to who will be paying that, and forcing residents to be like, are we paying for that?
We have a football stadium in this town, but with that being said, we're a small town. We have 18,000 people.
It comes down to sounding like Foxborough is being the bad guys here, but we really aren't. All we're trying to do is protect our citizens.
And as a result, there has been no approval of licenses from Foxborough to approve the 7 games hosted at Gillette Stadium. And so why does this matter? Don't pay it. There could be some issues in running Boston's or Massachusetts FIFA World Cup games. Be sure to share this with someone who is in Boston. Hit the follow button for more stories about Massachusetts.
Although FIFA knows that it's going to be a problem, it's going to be a challenge to actually get a visa to come watch a game for your country, they decided to make it non-refundable. All ticket sales are final. So what does that say? That says that FIFA is more interested in making a buck than allowing the fans around the world to go watch their game. That tells me that the World Cup is not as important as it is, to make a buck. That tells you why the president of FIFA is licking the boot of Donald Trump, giving him all sorts of fucking crap. For example, Peace Prize from FIFA. When have you even heard that? Or allowing him to have the cup and hold it up in the final of the Clubs World Cup. This is ridiculous. And I would say, if you want to do something, stand up, watch a game on TV. Don't go to the game. Allow FIFA to lose money in the tickets so they learn that they can't be doing this kind of shit. And the next World Cup, they take into account the fans, not the buck they're going to make. I'm Alex. This is my rant, and I'm out.
The most corrupt president in the history of the United States, convicted felon Donald Trump, is not only in trouble with the MAGA base over the way his administration has handled the Epstein files, i.e. the cover-up, but people are also unhappy with his immigration policy. So let's see the latest numbers on Trump's approval rating. Trump's net approval rating on immigration. This is important, you guys, because he ran on the issue of immigration, mass deportation. That is why he killed the border bill, because it would have been a bipartisan piece of legislation that would have stopped the flow of immigrants into the United States legally and fairly. It would have increased funding to ICE and their judges, but no. Trump has to go into Home Depot and 7-Eleven and take people while they're working off farms and rip people apart from their families. So his net approval rating, according to a Fox poll, is -7. Ipsos, -8. Marist, -9. QPAC, -16, and Gallup -27. These are stunning numbers, because most of the people that went all in for Trump did it because they thought he would solve the immigration problem. Why they thought that when he got on stage and talked about eating the dogs and eating the cats, I will never understand, but they did. But these numbers show, and I have read some reports that Americans feel more positively about immigration than they have in decades. And I believe, I'm hopeful and optimistic to believe, it is because people are seeing the inhumane acts by Kristi Noem and ICE and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, and they're saying, no, thank you. I believe in the Constitution and due process. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But we also have a campaign promise from Donald Trump that it would be, I will solve the war in Ukraine on the first day. But according to Fox News, Trump has been played by Putin.
Yeah, I think, look, it's clear from what the president himself has said, although he wouldn't put it this way, that he got played by Putin and it dragged on for months. And he was being jollied along under the impression that Putin had obviously given him that Putin wanted to end the war.
Okay, guys, here it is. Here it is in black and white on Fox News. Putin knows Trump is weak. Putin knows that Trump, all he has to do is say, oh, we're friends, or oh, you're athletic, or you have big hands, and Trump will cave. So what does he do? He strings him along and acts like they're buddies, and then he fucks him every time because Donald Trump is incompetent. The only thing that outweighs his incompetency is his corruption. But it turns out Fox News isn't the only person that knows Putin is trolling Trump and that he will never get Putin to do what he wants because he's weak and he sucks. And Trump tells us himself, it's Melania.
One of the cooler things about this World Cup is the fact there are a bunch of World Cup teams who are using private high schools as their training base. It's also extra funny to me because I could have gone to a couple of those schools. For example, Croatia are using Episcopal High School down in Alexandria, Virginia as their training base. I could have gone to Episcopal High School. It's a boarding school, and me being Nigerian, the norm is to just go to boarding school as someone who is of high school age. And I got in and everything. Like, I even think I got a pretty good financial aid package. I just chose not to go. I just did. I still ended up in a boarding school just outside Philly, but like, dang. Or one that hits really close to home is the Pingree School. That one wasn't even a boarding school, it's just a really good private school. And in high school soccer, they are a powerhouse in New Jersey. If you've played at a decent level growing up in New Jersey, you would have heard about them or St. Benedict's. And I wanted to play for them badly, man. Like, I remember seeing their coach who had been there for like, I think it must have been like 35 plus years. I hope for his sake he's retired. I hope. Also, fun fact, when Manchester United had their preseason tour in 2024 in the US, they had Pingree High School as one of the places where they trained at. Or even stepping away from the high schools. I grew up 20 minutes away from Rutgers. Why are they hosting Senegal? And if you care at all, Brazil are also in New Jersey. They're up in Morristown, I believe. I'm definitely making that trip, like, without question. I think hearing about where these squads are choosing to host their training camps, if anything, makes me be really appreciative about our education system somehow. And yes, I did list a bunch of private schools, but then again, there were a really good amount of state schools represented on that list for the training camps. Makes you a little bit grateful, you know?
The United States is about to host the World Cup, and this is the headline that international tourists are seeing. Her name is Karen Newton, and she is 65 years old, a British tourist with a valid visa who came to the United States for a 2-month-long vacation. She is claiming that ICE shackled her wrists, her waist, and her ankles, and held her in detention for 6 weeks. Yes, 6 weeks. She wasn't even accused of a crime. She was reportedly detained over issues with her husband's paperwork, but not because of anything that she did. Now, she's publicly telling people not to come to the United States because if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone, that she doesn't have even parking tickets. So think about that, because when a grandmother leaves the United States telling people not to come to the United States right before we are about to host the World Cup, that spreads internationally, and there are a lot of concerns. So I want to know what you think about it, but we ultimately have to think about the fact that tourism, it runs on perception and global events run on trust. You can't really promote Come to America for the World Cup while stories like this are circulating. I want to know what you think. I'm Shawnee Shy. This is FaceTime Politics. Follow along for more, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.
We really are in the dumbest timeline. We're now banning the world from the World Cup. As seen here, one of the host nations, I'll let you guess which one it is, wants to ban the entire world from the World Cup. That's right. I really wish I was making this up, but this is actually something that's on the table. Seriously, this comes after having already banned Haiti and Iran from attending the World Cup. Iran has already decided to boycott the World Cup draw, and if they want to ban the entire world, I'm pretty sure that that boycott from Iran is just the first domino to fall of many, many more in the coming months. And if you forgot, this was the Club World Cup this past summer. 1 million unused tickets in the group stages alone. So to see stadiums this empty for the World Cup is looking like much more of a reality rather than just a possibility. And the level of embarrassment from the entire world, literally the entire world watching, would be ridiculous. For anyone across the world who is hoping to travel to the World Cup in the summer of 2026, I hope you got tickets in Canada or Mexico, because if you go to the other host nation, I don't think they're gonna let you in, and you may have just wasted a lot of money on very expensive tickets.
Can somebody please explain to me what's going to be happening to the fans from the countries that are on the banned list? Will they still be able to come to the World Cup? Or I guess they can't because they've just been banned. So how's this going to work?
The 2026 FIFA World Cup starts June 11th, just 5 weeks from today, and Trump's immigration policies are creating what international media is calling a controlled explosion. 4 countries whose teams are qualified for the World Cup fall under Trump's travel ban: Haiti, Iran, Ivory Coast, and Senegal. There is a presidential proclamation suggesting that players, team officials, and immediate family members from the 4 countries will be granted visas, but fans are blocked. Haiti qualified for the World Cup for the first time since 1974. All their group stage matches are in the United States. Haitian citizens cannot attend. America is hosting the world's biggest sporting event while banning fans of teams playing in the US. That is not just bad optics, it is undermining the entire purpose of hosting. The US government has placed 39 countries under visa restrictions and introduced a $15,000 visa bond for fans from 50 nations. The average annual income in Algeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Tunisia, Cape Verde is approximately $5,000. A $15,000 visa bond represents 3 full years of income. For a family of 4 wanting to attend one group stage match, the bond requirement makes World Cup attendance simply impossible. Trump just priced out entire continents from attending matches their teams are playing. Iran requested its Group G matches be moved to Canada or Mexico, citing safety concerns. FIFA rejected the request on April 12th, with President Gianni Infantino saying matches will be played as scheduled. The Iranian Football Federation president said Iran would boycott U.S. matches but not withdraw from the tournament. Iran plays all Group G matches in the United States, so Iran will boycott matches they're required to play. FIFA insists those matches happen in the USA, and Iranian fans cannot enter the country anyway. This is not really a sporting event anymore. It is a geopolitical standoff disguised as football. Let's just zoom in on what this looks like for specific teams. Haiti qualified for the World Cup for the first time in over 50 years, making the achievement even more remarkable given they couldn't play in their home stadium or train inside their own country. Their journey demonstrates that there is still hope for Haiti and that determination and talent can triumph despite adversity, said Regine Etienne, Haiti's acting consular general in Boston. Haiti's first match is June 13th against Scotland, played in the US. The Haiti flag will fly with those of some of the world's most powerful nations, but Haiti's citizens will not be able to travel to cheer them on. A team that overcame civil war and political collapse to qualify cannot bring their own fans because Trump banned Haiti immigration. I think the piece that most coverage misses is that this undermines American soft power more than any diplomatic failure. When asked if Mexico was open to hosting Iran's matches, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said, "Yes, Mexico maintains diplomatic relations with every country in the world, therefore we will wait to see what FIFA decides." That phrasing alone, Mexico maintains diplomatic relations with every country, I think is a pointed contrast to America banning 4 teams' fans. Mexico is positioned as the reasonable co-host while the USA creates chaos. We've actually got a whole playlist on how Trump's policies are destroying American credibility. Check it out after this one. The World Cup disaster is yet another example. The ACLU and Amnesty International led 120 rights group issuing a U.S. World Cup travel advisory, warning fans, players, journalists, and visitors to exercise caution and have an emergency contingency plan. The advisory warned of arbitrary denial of entry and risk of arrest, detention, or deportation at points of entry, pointing to Customs and Border Protection agents' broad discretion to admit, detain, or deny entry. That's 120 human rights organizations telling millions of potential visitors that attending the World Cup in the USA poses safety risks. ACLU Human Rights Program Director Jamil Dakwar said, I'm quoting here, FIFA has been paying lip service to human rights while cozying up with the Trump administration, putting millions of people at risk. Between 5 and 10 million visitors are expected to travel to the U.S. for the event, but inbound tourism to the U.S. fell 5.4% in 2025, and the World Cup's promise of 1.24 million international visitors is under serious threat now. Cities plan infrastructure investments assuming millions of tourists, hotels booked rooms years in advance. Now travel advisories and visa bans are suppressing attendance before the tournament even starts. Trump introduced something called a FIFA Pass, which is a visa system prioritizing appointment scheduling for football fans. However, this priority system is only available to fans who already hold valid visas or are not subject to travel bans. For fans from Iran, Haiti, Senegal, and Ivory Coast, the system offers no apparent relief. Trump created a fast-track visa system specifically for World Cup fans, then excluded the fans who needed it the most. The financial exposure for host cities is also significantly measurable. The World Cup 2026 is expected to provide substantial boost in local economies in U.S. host cities with hotels, restaurants, and transportation services, counting on the influx of international fans. However, visa restrictions and travel bans could reduce that number of visitors, especially from Iran, Haiti, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. In cities like Los Angeles, New York, and Miami, the absence of passionate fans could dampen the overall atmosphere too. Empty stadiums during matches involving African or Middle Eastern teams will be broadcasted globally, of course, showing the world that the USA cannot execute basic hosting responsibilities. Spirit Airlines collapsed on May 2nd due to jet fuel prices spiking from Trump's Iran war. Domestic travel prices have spiked 40% this month alone. Fans who expected budget travel between host cities are finding themselves priced out or stranded now. The war that closed the Strait of Hormuz killed Spirit, spiked domestic airfares, and now fans who can legally enter the U.S. cannot afford to travel between matches. Trump broke the airline industry 1 month before America hosts the world's biggest event requiring massive domestic travel. I think the contradiction is complete. FIFA awarded the World Cup to the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, assuming that America would facilitate international travel and provide world-class logistics. Trump imposed travel bans on 39 countries, required $15,000 bonds from 50 more, launched a war that killed a major airline, and created conditions where human rights organizations issued travel advisories warning visitors about arbitrary detention. White House spokesperson Davis Engel said that the 2026 World Cup will no doubt be one of the greatest and most spectacular events in the history of mankind. But 120 rights groups just told potential attendees to have emergency contingency plans because American immigration enforcement poses risks. When thinking about how hosting major events requires diplomatic coordination Trump systematically destroys, my book Awake, the Practice of Critical Thinking in an Age of Self-Lies walks through this exact kind of pattern. It's available in ebook and audiobook. Subscribers get 10% off, and you can grab the first chapter for free in the description links below. A fan from Senegal told the Associated Press, I'm quoting, "It's up to the United States to provide the conditions, the means, and the resources to allow the qualified country so everyone can go and support their team." Another Senegal fan said, "We've traveled everywhere with our team because we are the national fans of Senegal. Since Senegal has qualified for the World Cup, we absolutely have to go. They can't go because Trump banned them." Trump said back in November, I'm quoting, "The World Cup is going to be the greatest and we are setting records on ticket sales." But calls to boycott the World Cup have come from football coaches, politicians, and civilians, including the heads of 20 European football federations. Ticket sales don't matter if visa bans prevent people from entering the country to use those tickets. Spirit Airlines collapsed because Trump's Iran war doubled jet fuel prices. We analyzed that shutdown in the video on your screen right now. It's definitely worth watching because the World Cup disaster is just one more casualty of Trump's policies breaking basic governmental functions. The USA is hosting the world's biggest sporting event in 5 weeks and banning fans of 4 qualified teams from attending. That is not Make America Great Again. That is more America shooting itself in the foot on the global stage.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.